Imagine stepping into a world that is transformed by Jesus' return. What will the world be like when his kingdom is established on the earth? I had a dream that took me there, and I can't wait to share it with you on this episode of Coffee with Borin. Oh, hi. Today's episode of Coffee with Borin features Scooter's Coffee. This is not a paid ad. I want to share with you today a dream that I had that profoundly impacted the way that I view eternity, particularly the millennial reign. Now, real quick, before I forget, I want to let you know that I'm going to be sharing something very special and exciting. It's an announcement that I have been waiting to make, and I'm going to be making it later on this video. So stick around to find out what that is. Now, this dream takes place in the midst of the millennial reign. And for those that don't know, Jesus, after he returns to the earth, is going to rule on the earth for 1,000 years. And during that time, he's going to prepare the earth to receive the Father and the New Jerusalem, essentially heaven coming back to earth. So this dream took place in that time frame that Jesus was ruling and reigning during the 1,000-year reign, or the millennium. And this dream even shifted how I live today with the millennial reign and eternity in mind. Now, before I get into it, there are definitely a lot of theological questions that might arise, and I'll just say up front, this is not a theological video, and I definitely would not encourage making a theology out of the dream I had. I believe this dream supplemented a theology that I had already established by my study and by those I've studied under. But don't make a theology out of this dream, and don't believe that I have made a theology out of this dream. And another thing to note, in this dream, you're going to find two kinds of people: those who are in glorified bodies and those who are not, those who are still mortal. And again, this is not to get into theology, though I do love these discussions, and I wouldn't mind it in the comments. Just for the sake of the content of this video, when Jesus returns, there are going to be those who are alive in Christ and those who are dead in Christ. They will all be taken up and transformed in the blink of an eye, given glorified bodies, and they become immortal. They escape the second death. They'll never die again. There are also those who have taken the mark of the beast, who Jesus and his army defeats. Not getting into that. There is a subgroup of people beyond these two that when Jesus returns, they are neither believers nor are they people who took the mark of the beast. They are still alive if they've survived all of the things that have come upon the earth. They're still alive when Jesus establishes his rule. Isaiah actually says that if any of them died at 100 years old, they would be considered like infants, and people will say, like, wow, they died so young, they hardly lived life. So again, if we want to have a theological discussion, feel free to comment below. This is just me giving you another note so that you're not lost as I break down this dream. So let's dive into one of my favorite dreams that I've ever had, certainly one of the most exciting. It begins with me in this sort of secret place of prayer, and it was almost like I had been given the opportunity to offer this to Jesus at the beginning of the millennial reign. And I had been here for a very long time, hidden away in prayer. And it was almost like it had been hundreds of years. Well, I have just been informed that my time, my shift, is over. So I begin stepping out into the world for the first time in like hundreds of years of the millennial reign. So a lot has changed, and I'm just now seeing it for the first time. I find myself in Greece, actually, and I see the native people. There's still Greeks there. I see people in glorified bodies and people in non-glorified bodies of all different ages. And as I'm looking around, there's a few key things that I notice. One, the architecture is still relatively the same in Greece, or at least the cultural architecture. Still white walls with blue roofs, that kind of thing. And I look over at the beach, and I'm seeing a lot of wildlife, a lot of plant life. It's thriving. There are creatures I know, and there are creatures I've never seen before. One of them was a seal that was on the beach. I thought this was kind of surprising when I wrote the dream down as I woke up, because I didn't know this, but there's actually a seal called the Mediterranean seal. I didn't know they had seals there. And I'm seeing these creatures interacting closely with humans with no sort of fear or regard to them as being dangerous or anything like that. And as I'm just taking all this in, there's a man walking up to me. Now, he is not in a glorified body, and he's older, what I would say probably 55 to 65, around that age, but I don't know how old he actually was. So again, this man is coming to me, and I recognize him because while I was in this secret place of prayer, he was the one who would bring me my food every day. And he was asking me in Greek, basically about like, why are you out? Is your shift up? And it's funny because he assumed that because I had been in this Greek area for so long, that I would have learned the native tongue. And though I had some element of ability to understand and speak Greek, I wasn't fluent. So I converted to this other form of speech that I inherently knew, and I knew he also could speak this language as well. And it was a language, you actually find this in Isaiah. It says that when he comes, he will purify our speech. I wonder if it's kind of the undoing of Babylon, or the Tower of Babel specifically, because as I was speaking, I couldn't tell you what language it is, but all of my thoughts and all of my emotions, everything I wanted to communicate was communicated flawlessly to this man. And I basically explained to him, yeah, my shift is over. And so he was surprised. We talked for a little bit, but I was just bewildered because I was so excited to see what the kingdom was doing in the earth. And I walked down to the beach, and one of the things that I had noticed was that all of the plants that I'm seeing sparked a sort of hunger in me. Not the sort of hunger that's like from lack and I missed a meal and my stomach hurts, but the sort of hunger where it's like, I'm not really hungry, but that food, that looks like something I really want to eat, like right now. That's what it was like. And I remember asking somebody in this tongue, what can I eat? And they told me everything. If you see a plant, yes, you can eat it. And it reminded me again of the beginning of Genesis when every plant bearing seed was for food. And so I actually go and I find out everywhere I look, in the city, in the country, there are tables set up everywhere. Little tables, big tables, and all of the tables have chairs with them. 2 or more chairs. There's not a single table that has one chair. And everywhere I look, there are people at tables eating, and they're always with a group, or at least there's a couple of them, or a group. What I'm saying is, no one was eating alone, but a lot of people were eating, and they were all in this form of fellowship. And that's really what I noticed, is it seemed like tables literally just in the streets, on the street corners, in the country. There were tables set up everywhere, and they were specifically set up where 2 or more would gather to eat and fellowship. And I actually walk into a restaurant. Yes, there was a restaurant, and there's several windows that I could order at this restaurant. And it reminded me of like a street market, maybe someplace you would see in Greece. And I walk up to this window where this woman is making desserts. And again, I'm seeing some glorified people and some non-glorified people. And the person that's working at this particular window, she's a non-glorified person. She looks like she might have been in her mid-20s. Maybe she was 200 years old. I don't know. But I walk up to order, and she asks me in Greek, because she's Greek, what would I like to order? And I start trying to describe it to her. But again, I run into that problem where I have to explain I'm not actually fluent in Greek. I know that's surprising because I've been here for so long, but I have to use this other language. So I begin to place my order. Now, here's the thing. This particular window where I'm ordering, and the thing that attracted me to it was that she was making desserts, and they looked like loukamades, which is almost like a donut hole if you're in the West. And but they were made with each order having a very unique and particular way that they were made, unique to the person ordering it. And so this is one of the fascinating parts of the dream. I have this craving to eat a certain kind of dessert. It's a cake, actually, that my mom here in this life would make me for my birthday because it's my favorite. And of course, when I order it now, if I eat this particular cake, most of the time I'm disappointed because it's not my mom's and it doesn't taste the same. And if I do have one that's not hers, or if I have hers, the best part to me is that it reminds me of my mom. It's home cooked. It's home cooking, right? Like it touches the nostalgia in my heart that satisfies that just unique connection to my mom that only I can understand. I say all that very quickly somehow with this alternative language that we all can speak. And so I describe what it is I'm looking for. And I'm like, I know maybe you can't make it exactly the same, but this is what I'm looking for. Well, she starts getting to work. She whips it up and brings me the order. And I have a bite, and it literally was, every element of it was exactly what I would hope for. Again, not just in the way that it tasted in my mouth, but the way that it moved my heart. It touched and loved on a place in me that nobody else knows, not even my mom, right? She provides the thing that touches that place in me, but she can't even know what it is in me, what those specific longings are. There's only one other person who knows exactly how to bring that. And of course, it's the one that's ruling on the earth right now. So that blew me away, that I was eating this food that not only was delicious, but it was an expression of love to me specifically. Now, some of these things that I'm explaining to you, I had never thought of as a possibility in the millennial reign or beyond. So let me know your thoughts on sort of those things that Jesus might have prepared for us or for you specifically in the next age. Go ahead and type it in the comments. I would love to know what you're setting your heart to as something that's anchoring you to live for the next age. Now, moving on from there, I am walking through the streets of Greece, and I come to this place where there's sort of a courtyard. And I see a group of people there, some glorified, some non-glorified. And what catches my eye is there's two people there in glorified bodies that I know right now. They're good friends of mine. One of them is actually my best friend. And it was so crazy because I totally did not expect to see them in Greece. And I walk up to them and they asked me a question. One of them, asks me a question that quite a few people had asked me during the time of this dream, but I didn't share all of the details. He asks me like, hey, you're done now? Like your shift is over? I was so excited to see him where they're catching up. And then I see my best friend because they're in the same little group there. And he, in this current life, he has a wife and he has kids. But of course, in the next age, no one is given in marriage. Now, what it felt like in this dream, or at least what was being communicated, just like with the food, I never saw my mom. And it wasn't that it was my mom's cooking. It was that I felt a sort of love that was innate and so personal that it was everything I wanted in my mom and beyond in the food that I ate, right? So the relationship aspect of this age was carrying over to the next age, even though technically my mom won't be my mom, and wives and husbands and children won't be those offices in the next age. There is still the element of the personal relationship there. And so I see my best friend, who I haven't seen in hundreds of years, or I think I hadn't even seen him since the millennial reign began. And I walk up to him and we go to give a high five and then a hug. And I'm asking him, hey man, how are the wife and kids? And I'm kind of joking around. And he jokingly responds like, oh yeah, they're good. So-and-so's up to this. So-and-so's doing this. And as we come in for the hug, we're kind of laughing. And then we just start saying to each other, man, we made it. We made it. And this becomes a emotional explosion for me, where I literally start to feel like my heart is going to just blow up in my chest with joy, relief, surprise even. The kind of surprise you get when somebody gets you the best kind of gift ever at Christmas or for your birthday. And we're just saying this to each other over and over as we're just squeezing each other. And I begin to just weep as I'm saying, we made it. We made it. Because I know everything that me and him have gone through in contending for each other's promises and walking out our own salvation with fear and trembling. And now we're here. We're here and we know each other's story and we made it. And I'm weeping and I'm weeping and I'm weeping. But here's the thing. There's no tears. My eyes are completely dry, but I'm weeping. And it's the good kind of weeping where, again, like it just feels like joy is literally going to cause my chest to explode. I almost cannot contain it. And I'm crying, but there's no tears. And this, of course, reminds me of the scripture in Isaiah and also in Revelation, where it says, he will wipe away tears from their eyes and there shall be no more crying. There'll be no more pain. There will be no more death. These are the things that come to mind when I'm thinking about that. And as we're holding each other, just embracing and crying out, I wake up. And in real life, when I wake up, I'm actually crying and there's actual tears. And that to me, that's the dream. Again, that's still somehow the Cliff Notes version. But that to me was one of the most impactful dreams I've ever had. And so far, if you've been ministered to by the dream, if it's caused your heart to be stirred for the things to come, then go ahead and hit the like button on this video so that we can kind of trigger the algorithm at YouTube to send this to more people who, like you, have their minds set on the things to come. So a couple of key points on this dream. One of the things that we talked about at the end was how I needed to still go to Jerusalem and see Jesus. And that was a key thing to me because I had been hidden for so long. I'd even missed a lot of the earth shifting as Jesus reigns and changes things. And some of the shifts I saw, of course, were not just governmental, but they were like biological and physical. You know, things that, for instance, the Mediterranean seal is endangered. But I saw it in my dream. There were a bunch of them on the beach hanging out near people. The plant life was edible. You know, there were creatures I had never seen before. Even in the ocean, I was seeing certain fish that I don't know if they exist. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, but I saw them through the water. And there were these elements of life that had changed. And even though I hadn't seen Jesus in the dream, here's really the key thing to me. I saw Jesus in everything that I did see. And that was what ministered to me the most, is that even in this dream, there was almost like a specific emphasis on, hey, you haven't seen him in this dream, but you can't not see him. Everything I saw oozed with love and redemption, restoration, salvation, the beauty of creation. Every single thing moved my heart in a way that nothing in this life can. And everything that did move my heart pointed me to Jesus. For instance, when I ate the food that was given to me, remember I asked for it to be prepared in a way that was similar to how my mom made it. My mom actually wasn't the subject of that moment. It was me. It was my longing. And what happened was when I tasted the food, I was overwhelmed by the love of Jesus and his intentionality to express his love for me personally and specifically, even to something as simple as the kind of cake that touches all the nostalgic parts of me. He knows exactly how I'm designed, the most intimate and secret parts, even the parts that I don't fully understand. And he knows exactly how to love me in those areas. And that's what I experienced in the millennial reign, was everything in a way was catered toward, or was catered to, a revelation of his love for the planet, for the people, and for me specifically. Another thing that ministered, and I've already spoke on this too, was, again, there were tables everywhere. I mean, it was like, you hear of the scriptures that talk about the feasts of the next age, and you see in the garden that everything was good to eat. You see God's clear intention there, right? Well, I was witnessing such a deliberate emphasis on feasting, but the thing about a feast is you can't do it alone. A feast, that's just eating, right? A feast always has conversation. It always has celebration. It always has fellowship. And that's what I saw. Again, I remember specifically seeing tables everywhere. It was like anywhere you were, you could pause and eat. You could pause and have a feast with somebody. It was always meant to be included in fellowship. Fellowship was an essential building block in this new kingdom. You could stop anywhere and feast and fellowship. And that was what pleased Jesus to build, to sort of legislate, right? To enact this as a thing in the kingdom. And again, that pointed to his love and intentionality for the family in general, for the family of God, which includes us as believers. And of course, the whole element at the end where I actually had sort of equity in my relationships with my friends and the people that I've labored with on this side of eternity. We were all in glorified bodies. We had already escaped the second death. It was over. But everything that we had built in the sense of relationship on this side of eternity carried over and was amplified in a sense in the next age. And that was something that, I thought of as a concept, but the way that it was shown to me was overwhelming, really, as is clear by the end of the dream itself. Now, lastly, and I think this is really the entire purpose of the dream for me personally, and it's the reason I'm sharing it with you. When we set our minds on things above, or another way to say it, when our treasure is put in heavenly places, which doesn't just mean our money, treasure can also be our thoughts, our intentions, our focus, our time. There your heart will be also. And what I'm hoping to give you is the gift that was given me in this dream, which is a more solid hope for the next age. Again, I don't want to make a theology out of this dream. I'm not making a theology out of this dream for myself, even though it was my dream, and I would encourage you not to. Scriptures give us plenty enough to understand what the millennial reign is, what it will be like, and even the concepts that I told you are not new. Some of the expressions of them were, but the concepts of feasting, fellowship, no tears from their eyes, this sort of thing is all in Scripture. So what I'm hoping is that this video breathes life on your devotion to God now, with your hope being anchored in the total restoration of all things and the specific part in it that you have to play, the unique assignment you have now that is ultimately building, like Paul says, with either wood, hay, and stubble, or precious stones and precious metals that will become sort of the building blocks of the rewards that we have in the next age. And in closing, I want to read to you one of the most powerful scriptures that points to the age to come. And it starts with, on this mountain, and it's speaking about Zion, or the New Jerusalem, the mountain where he will reign forever. On this mountain, the Lord of heaven's armies will spread a wonderful feast for all the people of the world. It will be a delicious banquet with clear, well-aged wine and choice meat. There he will remove the cloud of gloom, the shadow of death that hangs over the earth. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away all tears. He will remove forever all insults and mockery against his land and people. The Lord has spoken. Now, you might think that that was like in the book of Revelation, but it's actually Isaiah 25 that description of the new age is found in. And it's one of my favorites because it gives such a clear and obvious picture as to what we have to look forward to. And that's really what the purpose is. He's faithful to his promises. He's going to finish what he started in the earth and in your life. And if you just hold fast to the promises that he has given you, things like what we just read in Isaiah 25 are just a tiny shadow of an expression of what your life will be like when that day comes. So as you're going about your daily life, remember these things. Remember the scriptures that point us to the hope that we have in the next age. And live your life in a way that is putting those precious stones and precious metals in place for the age to come, because it is coming. And there's a lot of good life on the other side of eternity. If you've been ministered to by this video, please hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the Doulos Clan YouTube channel, where my wife, Ashley, and I share all sorts of stuff like this, encouraging stories, testimonies, things we feel like the Lord is sharing, as well as worship music. You can check out some of the stuff that we have released music-wise. And be sure to share this video with a friend. Again, I really want to spread a message that helps people set their hearts on eternity and what Jesus has planned for them. So thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Coffee with Borin. You didn't think I forgot to make my announcement, did you? Here's the thing. I am so excited to finally share with you that Ashley and I have been gearing up to record our very first studio worship album. We've been crafting these songs for so long, and God has really opened some doors to kind of get that ball rolling. So if you would like to join us on the journey and find out more about what we're doing, please go into the description. I've left a link below where you can subscribe to our email list, where we'll be sharing more about this journey we're on, and we cannot wait to share the songs that God has put on our hearts. So thanks in advance for subscribing.